So this is it. It already has 1.7 million views. Oh my god. It has double the likes of the actual trailer. The actual trailer only has 50,000 likes. It's actually the year of the Chud. Holy fuck, guys. Okay, here we go. Yep.
Oh dear, if it's not one thing, it's another. No sooner has Hollywood weathered the absolute storm that blew up around Supergirl, causing irreparable damage to female-led superhero movies and probably James Gunn's career, than another tempest looms on the horizon. And I'm not talking about the kind that this Galadriel cosplayer was banging on about.
There is a tempest in me.
I mean another potentially devastating audience backlash, this time against Christopher Nolan's Odyssey. It's a film that's already had its share of controversies and criticisms, everything from the postmodern feminist translation of the source text to the cinematography, costumes, historical authenticity, look and feel, and worst of all, the casting.
And it will not be quelled by you, Regent.
Not only is it a movie based on an ancient Greek legend with no actual Greek people in it, but well, the people they actually did cast were questionable at best.
I think that, like, at this point, if you have people that are doing race swaps inside of a historical piece of text, like, you know, it's like a Greek story or, you know, like an ancient European story, like, if you're adding in race swaps, you should probably just not make the movie. I think that there's just so much negative sentiment about it, and they poisoned the well so bad that even if it's something that's seemingly innocuous, people don't care. They're just not going to accept it, and they're going to be really, really, really mad about it.
Holy shit, did people make their feelings known? At the time of making this video, the latest countdown trailer is sitting at 48,000 likes and 213,000 dislikes.
It's at now, by the way, it is at over 350,000 dislikes. That is insane. Oh my god.
God only knows what it'll be like by the time you're watching this video. Either way though, that is fucking brutal, man.
It is.
I've never seen anything like this on a Christopher Nolan movie. Make no mistake, this is more than just a few curmudgeons on the internet fighting a culture war. This is a mainstream, widespread backlash against this movie. This is the kind of shitstorm I haven't seen since Snow White.
It's Hollywood, baby.
And it's interesting to compare this to the backlash against Supergirl, because in some ways, I can see the parallels between the perception of the two films.
Well, Supergirl was just mediocre. Like, nobody cares about Supergirl. Like, that's the reality. Like, people will still watch The Odyssey, but nobody cares about whether Supergirl is good or not. There aren't a lot of Supergirl fans out there. I mean, very clearly there's not, but there's a lot of people that know about The Odyssey. So it's like, I mean, one of them is like an offshoot comic. The other one is like a story that's been taught in school for like 1,000 years.
That doesn't make sense.
Now stick with me here, because I am going someplace with this. Supergirl had the bad luck of landing right at the intersection of three major problems in modern entertainment. 1, superhero fatigue.
True.
2, girl boss fatigue.
True.
And 3, James Gunn fatigue. All of those factors combined together to sour people's anticipation for the film before it even released. Because us humans are pretty good at pattern recognition, and let's be honest here, we've had a pretty bad run of female-led superhero movies and TV shows over the past 5 years, and we've had an even worse run of James Gunn-led projects. Keep serving up shit food at your restaurant, and guess what? People are going to start complaining, and then they're going to stop showing up. But the Odyssey might be walking right into its own little intersection of stuff that people are getting increasingly pissed off about. For example, 1, race swap fatigue.
I think that's exactly it. People are just tired of seeing this shit. It doesn't matter whether you think that you're right. It doesn't matter whether you think that, oh, it shouldn't matter. Very clearly, the masses have had enough of this. They don't want to see it anymore. It makes them angry. And the people that are angry now have a voice. Because I think that for a while, Nobody was able to like verbalize this dislike. There was nobody who was like a large media figure that was like any sort of like a nexus for these people. But now that there have been more places for people to talk about this stuff, now you're seeing this pushback happen, and it's getting a lot bigger. It's being overdone and abused. Just give it a rest. Yeah, exactly.
2. Gender ideology fatigue. And 3. Zendaya fatigue.
I think that's like the very, very minimal one. I think it's mainly like, in my opinion, it's the, Ellen Page, Elliot Page thing versus the race swaps. Like, you see something like that, and it's like, okay, you're doing this in order to push a message. That's the reason why.
Let's start with the first one because, well, it's first. Now, you don't need me to tell you that there's been a frustrating rise in the race swapping of established characters, and in some cases, actual...
Well, it's also pushing the narrative and erasing history that European history is filled with people that are from African descent. No, it's not. Everybody knows it's not. What are we doing? Why are you doing that? Just stop it. It's a bunch of white people. And there's some people that are Greek with darker white skin. That's it. So if you have anybody except for that, you're probably doing it for a social political reason. That's it. So the moment that you see any of that happening, you know that the reason why they're writing this story and they're making this story is to put a narrative. That's it. It's a proposal. It's a brainwash the younger masses. And that's the problem, right? Is that they want to presuppose that every race of people has some sort of like cultural claim to the European culture, right? Or to, European myths or European stories. They don't, because those stories are enjoyed and they are created by Europeans. They weren't created by Indians. They weren't created by Africans. They weren't created by the Chinese. They were created by Europeans. They were created by Greeks, by British people, by fucking Scandinavians, by the Vikings. And so the moment that you go and you take the story and you shift it into like, oh no, actually there's these different characters and these different people in there, what you're doing is you're using this subversive casting in order to effectively rewrite history. This isn't the way it works. It's not the way it worked ever. It's agitation, exactly. Look at Animal Farm. It got re-envisioned by socialists and that flopped too. Maybe, yeah.
Historical figures.
And also the other thing is like everybody loved the original Shaka Zulu movie. Like, for example, it's not like there are no movies about like African history or culture that have been popular. Like, look at Black Panther. Black Panther was super popular. I mean, I know it's a fantasy movie, but it's like you don't have to cannibalize and try to colonize European media in order to, have representation. You have to make your own stories. And I think that, like, whenever I see, this is the truth, whenever I see a European story that has a bunch of diversity in it, I assume that the story is going to be bad. Because if you don't even care enough about the story to do accurate casting, you certainly don't care about it enough to do accurate fucking directing and screenplay. Like, this is a message at this point. Like, to me, like, at the moment that I see that, I'm like, okay, this is it. It's over. It's done. The gods must be crazy. I watched that movie with my mom. It was really good. It's crazy good.
Recent years, and of course, it only ever goes in one direction.
Yeah.
There's this weird...
And that's the other thing, too, that, like, everybody can very clearly see that race swapping is happening in one direction. You're removing representation from European and white people, and you're replacing it with representation of minority groups from other parts of the world. This is what's happening. It's one directional. It's been happening. It's been ongoing. I think everybody sees it and notices it. You still want to watch The Odyssey? Yeah, I want to watch it. I want to see what people are saying. Yeah, I'd want to watch. Like, I do. I'm a streamer. Like, of course, I want to watch The Odyssey. Yeah, I mean, it's a big cultural event. Of course. Doesn't mean I like The Odyssey or I think it's going to be amazing. I hope it's going to be good. But like, yeah, of course I'm going to see it. That way I can talk about it on my stream. Of course. Duh.
that every other culture, race, and ethnic group in the world are entitled to...
By the way, I say that, but there's actually a really high probability that I never actually watched the movie. Because it's not because I don't want to, I'm just lazy.
There's this weird assumption that every other culture, race, and ethnic group in the world are entitled to their own unique stories, history, and identity, and it all has to be carefully fenced off, protected, and respected. Whereas anything created by white Europeans is treated like some generic all-you-can-eat buffet that everyone's allowed to stick their hands into.
Abso-fucking-lutely. I am so sick of this, and I think that people should push back on it even harder. Like, Europeans and white people have literally no self-respect. You get racially replaced inside of every single one of these movies. You have the race swaps happen for obvious social and political reasons, and you just eat it up like a retard. You should never be paying attention to this shit. It's so stupid. And I'm so glad to see people that are creating a toxic environment for the people that are doing this. I'm so proud of you guys. You are creating such a negative, toxic, horrible environment for these people that they're going to have to stop. I'm proud of you guys. Keep it up.
Black female Vikings? Sure, why not?
Oh, yeah.
An Asian Isaac Newton? Of course.
Definitely.
An English Tudor queen who's somehow African? It just makes sense.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Well, no, actually, it doesn't. And you know what? I think people are getting a bit sick of this shit. They're getting
I
sick
think
of...
people were always sick of it, but the reason why it was allowed is because nobody was able to voice those frustrations because they'd be deplatformed. Like from 2018 to 2023, basically, you couldn't really express any of the viewpoints that I'm expressing. You can't tell anybody what you think. How come we never got Black Hitler? Well, and that's the other problem, too, is that the race swaps only happen with characters that are perceived as the good characters or the heroic or, you know, like the good guys, basically. So you're never doing race swaps with characters that are seen as bad behavior characters. It's always taking the heroes, making the heroes minorities, and then maintaining the white status of all of the villains. I don't know if there's I'm sure there's one or two exceptions, but I think overwhelmingly this is the norm.
Being written out of their own cultural heritage and even their own history. They're getting sick of being labelled racist just for pointing out something that's provably, verifiably bullshit. And they're getting sick of being expected to just shut up and accept it. Which is why the casting of Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy, one of the most iconically beautiful women in all of literature, hit a bit of a sore spot for a lot of people, and probably came at the worst possible time.
Yeah.
Now, personally, I like Lupita Nyong'o. I think she...
I mean, let's be honest, guys. I mean, if you pull, like, this is not somebody that most people would say is 10 out of 10 attractiveness. It's just not. Everybody knows this. We all know this. Why are we doing like this? It's so obvious. What are we doing? It's so stupid.
She's a talented actress, but come on, man. There's no fucking way you're convincing me or anyone else that she was the right person to play this role.
It's an act of lunacy.
That's right, Sean Connery. It is. You know what's also an act of lunacy? Casting Elliot Page in this movie, which brings me neatly along to my second issue in the unholy...
I think that fundamentally casting trans actors or actresses is going to be really contentious and controversial in general. And the only times that I think that it won't be contentious and controversial is when you're casting them for like movies that are like made for young women. Because I think that young women are the main group that kind of is accepting and like approving of that. Otherwise, I think that most other groups of people are definitely not.
Trifecta. gender ideology. Now, we all know that Elliot Page recently transitioned from female to male, and that's fine by me. I hope he's living his best life now and that he's happy and fulfilled.
I don't give a fuck.
But it does create a bit of a problem when it comes to casting, because Elliot Page is 5'1" and weighs about 90 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah.
He makes Millie Alcock look positively statuesque, and no amount of shadowboxing videos is going to change that. Notice how they put him next to the smallest man they could possibly find to try and make him look bigger? Well, your Jedi mind tricks won't work on me, son. Anyway, he's playing a Greek soldier named Sinon, who was never actually mentioned in the Odyssey or even the Iliad, but who cares at this point, because we're just winging this shit. But I mean, how? What the fuck is he supposed to fight against? I mean, his own armor probably weighs more than he does. The moment he's on screen amongst other men, he's gonna
Well, here's the other problem, right? Is that, like, for example, do you remember back in the 300 where there was, like, the really malformed Spartan that, like, was out there like that? Like, I think that if you had a role where it's like, okay, this person is like very small and weak and they're not able to hold a sword and they're not taken seriously by the other soldiers, I think that you could make that role make sense, right? But the problem with this is that they also want to cast people in these roles and then have these people have like almost universally good characters, where basically they can't be seen with flaws, they can't be villains, they can't be bad people, they can't be losers or anything like that. And so that's the main issue, is that you could find ways to cast somebody like Elliot Page in the Odyssey, but the ways that you would do that would be considered diminutive to a person because they are a derivative of being trans. That's the reason why you're not going to have it happen. So basically, the Ellen Page, I don't care about people's names. I've said before, I have no problem using people. I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to tone police you guys. I use people's pronouns. I think people are assholes for not doing it, but I don't really care. It's not a hill that I'm going to die on. But here's what I'm trying to say, is that these characters and the people that are, you know, like playing them, in order to make these characters play and have a role that I think is meaningful and interesting, they have to introduce some level of gray area. And like, you can't have a 5'1" Greek warrior. What are we doing here? What really, like, and then this person's supposed to like be some like strong person that everybody's like, you know, like expecting is going to like sack Troy. Get the fuck out of here. It's not going to happen.
Look like a small
Why
malnourished.
should we use pronouns? I'm usually a person. Who gives a fuck? Just do whatever you want. I don't want to argue with you about this. I don't care. Like this is not. It's not a big issue to me. I don't really give a shit.
Child playing at soldiers. Believing this kind of crap requires the same kind of mental gymnastics that allows 5'3" Scarlett Johansson to beat up a room full of men twice her size. Again, it's something we've all had to collectively suffer through for like a decade now. This notion that men and women's fighting potential is even vaguely comparable, and well, nobody buys it anymore, man. Especially in a movie made by Mr. Ultra Serious Christopher Nolan. This isn't some cheesy action flick or a dumb superhero movie where believability sits firmly on the back burner. This is meant to be a grounded, realistically portrayed narrative, and it looks ridiculous. The third issue is a less prominent one, but I do get the feeling it's becoming more prevalent as time goes on, and the best way I can describe it really is Zendaya fatigue. Right now, it just feels like the girl is fucking everywhere. Not only is she in four
She's like the female Pedro Pascal. Like, I don't really have a strong opinion about her, honestly. I really don't. Like, I don't, the same as like Pedro Pascal, like I think he's a good actor. I don't watch a huge amount of movies, so like maybe if I watched a ton of movies like Drinker does, then like I'd be like, okay, I get it. But like I don't watch enough movies for this to bother me personally.
At high-profile movies this year alone, plus Euphoria on TV, but she also seems to be getting lavished with so much news coverage and fake praise that it's becoming exhausting. Again, much like Lupita Nyong'o, I've got nothing against her on a personal level. She seems pleasant enough and she usually comes across well in interviews. I mean, I can't say I'm a huge fan of the perpetually confused scowl that seems to pass for her acting style, but maybe that's just a personal thing. The point though is that her rise to fame just feels
manufactured?
astroturfed.
Yeah.
She feels like an actress that's popular because someone in Hollywood decided she was going to be popular, and not because there was this huge swell of fan support for her. She's like a mid-card wrestler suddenly given a main event push because the bookers want to see if they've got headliner potential.
Is this true?
Sometimes it works, but most of the time they fizzle out after a few years, and well, I've got a feeling I know which way she's gonna go. Now, if I was casting the Greek goddess Athena, I'd be looking for an actress with an insane level of charisma, screen presence, and gravitas. Not to
A few other things too, but yeah.
mention acting range, and unless there's something about her that I've somehow missed over the years, I just don't see any of those qualities in Zendaya. I think she's gonna have to dig real deep for this one, only to discover she doesn't have a big enough shovel. Ultimately though, maybe this backlash, for all its noise, is just confined to the internet, and the normies out there couldn't give a shit about any of these casting controversies.
I think that normies don't care as much about it, but they absolutely do care. I think that if you go to Walmart, for example, and you interview people about this kind of stuff, especially I don't think people care as much about race swaps. I don't really think that they do, especially in America. People are generally pretty colorblind. I mean, obviously the Helen of Troy thing is like kind of an extreme, but most people don't really care that much. But what they really do care about, this is something that, like, I think the internet manufactures a consensus on this that doesn't really exist in real life. A lot of people really aren't down with trans stuff. They're not. You go talk about, I mean, George Floyd was tweeting negative shit about trans people. And this is another thing, is that, and it's kind of like an unspoken thing, is that a lot of minority groups are extremely socially conservative. Whether it is, Catholic Hispanics, whether it is African Americans, they're very socially conservative. And there's also not, and I think the reason why they're so socially conservative is because there's not the same guilt structure that applies to them in the way that it applies to white people. I think that's what happens. That's like, for example, another great example of this being true is people that don't believe in the Holocaust. Like, white people, it's only like 30%, whereas like Hispanic and African Americans, it's like way, way, way more, like 20 or 30% more. So, or Hispanic, or Muslim. I mean, Arabs, I think it's the same exact thing, right? And so look at Epstein versus Diddy parties, I guess, right? I'm a normie, I care about it, it's really annoying. Well, what I'm saying is that, here's my point, right? Is that, if you look at collectively, think about how many Catholic Hispanics there are in America. Think about how many African Americans there are in America. There's a lot of black people here. There's a lot of Hispanics, a lot of Latinos here. Like millions of them. And if you show a character that's like transsexual that, for some reason they don't like that, they're not going to watch the movie. Like, again, a great example of this actually playing out in reality is that Pete Buttigieg, who was one of the Democrat, primary runners, was polling at 0% with African Americans. He's gay. That's it. I think there's a big correlation there. Nobody wants to say it. I'll say it. It's obvious. A lot of rap music, a lot of other music, it's all super, super homophobic. It is. It's massively homophobic. And that's a huge factor. So if you don't want to go and, if you don't want to do that, I think that people really don't understand how deeply unpopular gender ideology is with average people. Because it is profoundly unpopular. Crazy, extremely unpopular.
Christopher Nolan is one of the few star directors out there who can sell tickets on his name alone, so I definitely wouldn't count him out with this one. Is it going to reach Oppenheimer levels of success? Maybe. Probably not, but I do think it'll turn
I think it's possible because the Odyssey is so popular and there's so many people talking about it. I think it's possible, I don't know.
Healthy profit. And what the hell? Maybe he'll surprise us all and create a genuine masterpiece with the Odyssey, but I don't know, man. I've got this weird little feeling that he might have gone a bridge too far with this one. Either way, we'll find out in a couple of weeks.
We sure will.
Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Well, and this is the problem, right? Is that like a lot of the minority groups that a lot of these gender ideology leftist people support are actually some of the most conservative minority groups out there. These are people that are not believing on high levels of the Holocaust. They're tremendously homophobic. They don't believe in any trans ideology or anything like that. There's the video. Give it a like. I've watched a lot of Critical Drinker videos over the years. I'm a big fan. I like the guy a lot. So make sure to give it a view, give it a like, etc. Right? Give him a sub. Have you checked the ratio on the video today? Yeah. It's an unnecessary L for Nolan. He's so good generally. Well, that's the thing. And that's the reason why I think so many people are angry about it. It's because now you have a movie that, like, you know, it's like, this is a movie you're supposed to be really good. Like, I will show you where it's at right now. So he said it was at 200,000. Now it is at, even since the beginning of my stream, it's gone up by over 10,000 dislikes. 368,000 dislikes. That is fucking insane. Oh my God. It's probably going to hit 500K. Yeah, it's going to be really, really bad.